Hey everyone. I'm on here today to introduce you all to a dear sister in Christ that I have met just a couple of months back. And she has been such a blessing to me. And she's also not only a prayer warrior, an encourager, but she is also um, a children's book author that I met, and she is such a blessing to know. And I just want to introduce you guys to her today. And let me see, she's already on there. Sweet girl, you figured it out.
Yes, I did.
How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. I was just sharing with everyone how we just actually met just a couple of months back.
Yes,
and
we did.
you have been such a blessing to me, and I'm just so thankful for you. You are definitely a prayer warrior, an encourager,
Right.
but I was also telling them how you also write
Yes.
children's books, which I love. As a mom, I can totally understand how much that is needed. And I love that you do faith-based, Christian-based content as well, because they are very few far in between. So
Yeah.
before we get started, I guess we just want to kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your faith journey, and how did you get to where you are?
So my name is Kirsten Fanning, and I'm a children's book author. And how I got to where I am right now, I would say, is Jesus. Um, so I was born and raised in a Hindu media family, and all I've known for the most part of my life is entertainment business. And that is all it was, trying to say your Oscar speeches in the bathroom or singing or writing. That is all I did, and that's all I knew and I dreamed of. And for more than a decade I worked as a content head and an executive producer. My mom and I, we ran a company together in India, and we did a lot of television and film productions for the Southeast Asian region. And that's all I knew. And for me, my aim and goal in life, as anybody else in the media industry, was to win an Oscar or win a prestigious award somewhere, or just be recognized in that field. But something I realized along the way, as when it started off, it was exciting and amazing, but I realized along the ways it was not satisfying. There was a big, I feel like it wasn't a wholesome. Like I feel like there was something that was missing. There was a big void. It felt like I didn't have a purpose, and it was just out there, random, just doing something. And I like anything that keeps me on my toes. I get bored easily, so I need to be on my toes. I need something that's challenging. That early hours, late days. Those are kind of things I like to do, where I'm challenged creatively to come up with new content and things. But I felt I didn't have a purpose. And my true journey shifted after many years after I got married and moved to the United States, is when I feel God, you know, pull that string. Okay, lady, I've given you my daughter, I've given you a long rope. You've been skedaddling everywhere. It's time to come back. It's time to come home. And I remember the last 13 years, from 2010 is when I started struggling in my career. It was very unstable. There would be a project, it would get, I would do one project, then for months there won't be anything, then I would do something else. I didn't see a growth, I didn't see consistency. There were so many financial struggles. I feel like, I know that's when my wilderness started, and that was my time. And I know that I was, I truly feel that my each one has their own wilderness, and mine had a lot of pruning and molding. And yes, because I was also very rebellious in so many ways. I didn't want to submit, did not want to surrender. But anyway, who's going to fight against the Lord? He knows how to get you to come around. And so I remember 13 years that was going on, and in 2012 I was completely vexed and frustrated. And I remember I was watching someone speak on YouTube, and they said, if you truly want to know the will of God in your life, fast and pray and know his purpose. Don't just be wandering aimlessly. So I said, you know what? I've come so far. I'm going to do this. So 3 days I fasted and prayed and waited and cried. And like a child throwing a tantrum that I don't know, just, tell me what I need to do. And it was on the third day morning when I was reading my Bible, he spoke to me. And when he speaks to you, it is a sharp two-edged sword. It goes into your heart, and there's no doubting or denying that. And sometimes people will ask me, how do you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. You can't doubt it. It's like a child knowing her mother or a parent. You would know. There is no doubt about it. So I was like, and that's when he told me this is what I had to do. To write children's books, to be a light to the Gentiles. That was the exact word that came from me. And I knew that that's when I felt a purpose starting to bubble and a fire starting to burn in my heart, because now I had a purpose. And that's when, came to pass. So in 2013 of April, I wrote my first children's book, which was Alive an Easter Story. And I don't know how I put together this book. I had an illustrator from India illustrate for me. She does only Christian illustrations. I reached out to her out of the blue, and it all happened within like 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't know how it came by so fast. And I posted it a day before on Amazon because I wanted it to come out for Easter. And at that time when I posted it, I didn't know that Amazon could take anywhere from 5 to 8 days. So now I'm all like, Lord, I don't know, I've done it. I wanted to come out for Easter, but it's not. And then I said, whatever in your will, and I left it. But on Easter morning at 8 a.m., it got published and it was live. And it was there. And I just feel like that itself was a sign, and everything since then. There is a struggle. There's always things, because when you're doing his purpose and his will, there's always things that come against. But he's teaching me to swim and to go forth and to push and pursue in that faith, God-given faith, not to just give up. And that's how I became a children's author who writes Christian stories. That was not my aim. I wanted to be a children's author at some point, but it was more like common themes or general themes. But when he said, this is what I want you to do, then I realized this is what I'm going to do. And it may not be easy because, one is, it's Christian. First off, I feel like Christian families and moms need to trust you with their children and with the books, with your books, because it's so important now with all sorts of content being out there, to be able to do that. Secondly, I feel like he's teaching me to do books for our own family when I'm become a mother, and for my family, just to know the kind of books I want out there and I want to bring to kids. So every book that I've worked on has not just been a thought. I've sat in prayer and I've prayed about it and thought about it. Like, for example, this morning, I'm coming out with something for Mother's Day. And I was putting down a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and I was writing it down, and I was like, I want to make something special for Mother's Day from a child to his or her mother. And I just put down a whole bunch of things, and I just left it. It was not really falling into place. So I was like, I'm going to leave it. I pray and went to sleep. And in the morning I had a dream of what I need to do. And it's been amazing. In the morning I started after that, and it's been flowing. I finished writing the book already. Now I just got to put it together and see how I want to do it. And that's how it's been. It's been a learning experience.
I have learned that when God is in it,
yes,
it will work. And if he's called you to it, he will also equip you to do what he's called you to do. And I just think that's a beautiful picture of just how good he is, and how not only did he call you to do these things, to write these books, which we so desperately need. I can never emphasize that enough. But also that he woke you up in a dream and he showed you how to continue the story that you had begun writing.
Yeah.
He is just a good God, ain't he?
Yes.
He is so good. I guess another thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you find the time? Like, I know a lot of people, they would have the idea, I would love to write a book one day or write something one day. But how do you find the time? Especially, people here and there going everywhere. Everybody's so busy these days. And how can you encourage somebody to just find some time, if that's something that God is nudging them to do, to how to make that time?
So for me, this is my full-time job, and this is what I'm doing. But for people who want to take where God's nudging them and they have a full-time job, and you want to do it, my recommendation would be is to set aside half an hour every day
That's good.
in your schedule, like you're doing a workout. Now, if we really want to do something, we have to do something. So in one of my books, I have this little quote that says, where there is a will, there is an I got this attitude. So it's like,
That's
you
good.
have to put it in there just to make it happen. And when you start writing, it will, it's practice makes perfection, and you have to practice every day. So just to spend 30 minutes of your time to do what he's asking you to do or put into your heart. It can even be before you go to bed. It can even be after your prayer time in the morning, however it is, like wherever you have time, during lunch break. Just sit down and try to write it. But that's the best way to go about trying to get it down there on pen and paper.
That's amazing. It definitely requires intentionality on our part, don't it?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I guess if you want to show one of your most recent books,
Sure.
if you have it on hand, and how long did it take you to write this book that you're going to show us?
So the latest one is The Girl in Her Noble Steed. This is a children's picture book for kids 8 to 12. And it's about a little spirited orphan girl. It's set against an epic backdrop. It's set against a quirky village with against an epic race, and a spirited orphan girl who wants so badly to win this race, to get things like her home is going through some trouble, her orphanage, and she wants to do something good for the orphanage, so she wants so badly to participate in this race. And how she comes together with a grumpy farmer and a singing and dancing miniature donkey, and how this trio of underdogs take on this race to right the wrongs in their life. And that's what the story is about. The Girl in the Noble Steed, I first wrote it as a picture book. So it had about 30 illustrations, and the book was completely done. This was a few years ago. I never got it out there, never planned to. So in 2013, when the Lord laid this on my heart, but it was not a Christian book. So then I felt I needed to correct and rewrite it. And then when I started doing that, I felt in my heart it had to be a chapter book, because a lot more had to be told. So now, and some of the pictures that were in the picture book were not the pictures that I wanted in the chapter book. So I reached out to my illustrator, Travis, who was amazing, who was able to accommodate me. And he's a cartoonist, award-winning cartoonist, who's done all the illustrations in the book. And it's so good. It really comes to life, and it's so vibrant. And I wrote the book in a week. I actually wrote it within 2 days. Wow. The entire, just the scenes. And then I wrote the entire book in a week. And I don't know how it just flowed, how it had to come through and how I had to write it. And then
it's amazing.
Yeah, and then my illustrator did all the illustrations in 10 days, and we had the book ready in that short period of time.
I just want to encourage somebody that, maybe feeling the nudge to start writing books too. Like you just said, if God's calling you to do it, he'll make a way and it will flow. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Don't mean you won't have opposition. You won't have some trials and errors. I'm sure. Like, what's the most difficult part for you for writing a book?
For me, I think the most difficult was editing, because I'm a writer. I'm not a copy editor or proofreader. So I remember the first batch of the book that came out had so many little grammatical errors, even though I had an editor. But I couldn't afford a proofreader, but I had the editor do the editing, and they don't really proofread. So I did a little bit of the, grammar check and all that stuff, but it's never 100%. And then I released it. And then 3 days later, I remember my mother-in-law called me, and she's my mom. She's amazing. And she was like, honey, have you checked the book? There are some errors in there. And I'm like, what? And now I'm like having a breakdown. I'm freaking out. I'm like, if people have bought it, like some people ordered it already. And I'm like, no. And then, I spoke to some people, and then they were like, don't worry about it. It's, a lot of authors have this in their first book and their first release and things like that. So it's going to be fine. And so I was able to correct it. And then upload it again. So for me, I feel one of the hardest things is just sitting down and reading word by word, because when you write it, you already know how it is in your mind, that sometimes you'll overlook those errors because you're reading it the way you're thinking it in your head.
Oh,
And
love
so,
it.
so that was it for me. Yeah.
So like this book that you just showed us, the girl with the, what is it? The girl with the noble,
The Girl and Her Noble
the girl
Steed.
in her noble steed.
Yes.
Like, how, when you were writing this book, what was, is it something like a story that just popped up in your mind?
Yeah, first I had the idea that it was going to be about a an orphan girl who's going to win a race. Because I love these uh, inspiring stories about how God picks the weakest people and the smallest things, and He makes you mighty and big. And that's
Yes.
something that was in my heart. And I wanted to pick somebody who was, you know, in this sad and lowly place, but still had the joy of the Lord in her heart and wanted to become and do something that was beyond what she had the means to do. And that's how it started in my heart. And then yes, I prayed about it, and you know, all the scenes and everything I put together. And I truly have to say that the Holy Spirit was with me every single step of the way, even the words that I have in the book, some of the words, because I felt one of the things that the Lord spoke to me was a lot of the books, even sometimes when they're Christian books, don't have words from the Bible. It's more a general theme about kindness and goodness and things like that. And I feel when children read books and they read a character speaking a word from the Bible, like where God guides, He provides, or in this book, I also have, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of goes into your soul and into your heart. And you want to bring it to the kids in a way that's entertaining and, you know, also edifying.
Yes.
So that was my aim. And so a lot of in the book, not in a preachy manner, because I'm not equipped to do that, but in a sense that, you know, they'll find it exciting, like in their everyday life. And when you see a character doing these things, then you also feel that, you know, you can also do all these things.
I love it.
Thank you.
What do you hope that your readers, or like the parents that read these books to their children, or the kids that actually read it? I don't know what age group. I can't remember all of that. One was
So
like 8
this
to
one,
12.
yeah, this one is 8 to 12. I have a whole lot of books coming up. I do have Alive in Easter Story.
That's the one I want to get
Yeah,
for my baby.
this one is 4 to 8. And then I have some coloring and activity books, which is I Am a Child of God for boys and girls.
Love it.
And it has little things in the back where it talks, where you have like, tell Jesus 4 things that make you happy. Or it helps you to communicate with God. It helps you write down your feelings and put all your emotions. Like I have one of the things in the book where it says, I think it's a little jar or something, and it says, write down all your fears or your, you know, emotions and give it to Jesus. So it's like you put it down there and you trust and you hand it over to Him and you believe that He's going to take care of it. So I have a few other books that's coming out this month, which is Happy Thoughts for Kids, as in this month, as in May. Gosh, we're end of April already. I'm like, what is going on? It's called Sunny Side Up, which is a book of happy thoughts for kids to look at every situation with a silver lining and with hope and the promises of God. The next one is called Fantastic Pup-Ups, which is from a dog's perspective. It's about these little dogs that get together and talk about what humans do and how they would do things differently and how they look at life. And then I do have A Feather of the Brightest Color, which is a story of hope. That's coming out this first week. And then there's a special for Mom's Day. And then I just have a whole lot of things that I've put together. And
Girl,
if we can have 5 of us, we'll be all good.
well, I want to ask before we end this interview, to encourage somebody that has that dream, has a dream that they want to write books. And maybe it ain't even a children's author. Maybe it's to write books for something else.
Yes.
What would you say to that person that just seems like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm equipped or called to do it. They may feel called, but they don't feel equipped. Just send them a word of encouragement if they're watching today.
So God always chooses us people who think we're not equipped. And that's why He equips us. If we already have all the things to do something, we won't need Him. So when I started I didn't feel equipped at all, in so many ways. Yes, I had the creativity. I believe that's his gift. But if whoever wants to write and wants to write, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, Christian fiction, whichever it is, just to trust him in the process. And there's a word in the Bible that says, a branch cannot bear fruit without the vine. And that is so important for us to remember and to take hold in the process of what we are doing, that we have to depend on him. We were created to depend on him. And that is so important, that you can do it, but you can do it through the strength he gives you. If we are trying to do it on our own, it's going to be tough. And there are going to be so many times when we're not going to be able to handle it. But if he's called the person to it, he's going to take you through it. And even if there are obstacles or whatever it is, like the first few months, I didn't make any sales. And for a moment, I thought, what's going on? Like you asked me to do this. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, as soon as you tell me to do something, I'm going to see 1,000 books sold.
Yeah.
He taught me to wait at his feet. He's like, no, when I have called you to something, I know how to make it happen. But are you trusting on me, or are you trusting on your ability to do it and make it happen? And
So
I had to learn slowly and, by his grace every single day to trust him in the process and in the sales. And I sold my first 250 something books in December after starting in April. So that was a feat for me. And I know with all my heart that was truly the grace of God, and it was not my own doing, because I tried for so many months in my own ways and it never happened. But when I let go and surrendered and waited on him to do it, it did.
I love that. And that you can about put that with anything that God calls you to do.
Yeah.
If you don't stay connected to him and you don't depend on him, dependency, right?
Yeah.
If you don't depend on him, it may not always, like you said, you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, okay, God, I did it. Now it's yours,
Yes.
Let me see the fruit of that reward later, I guess the only thing to end this interview is, how can people find you or follow you, or where can they purchase these books at, that they can purchase for their children?
So I'm on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. You can find me under Keithana J. Fanning. I also sell these books directly from my website, which is keithanajfanning.com, and they come with little goodies and freebies. So if people want to buy it, I would really appreciate if they did it from my website, because that's the way authors really make anything back. Because through the bigger platforms, they take most of the price on the book. You don't make much on it. Yeah, and then I'm there on Facebook and Instagram, and people can always follow me and reach out to me. I'm very easy to talk to, so it's...
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you.
So thankful.
I would love for people to just reach out to me or message me and talk to me and ask me about things. I want to know how parents are feeling about the books, and when children read them, and if they could share little testimonies with me of how it's impacted them or what they like. That's always it brings me a lot of joy.
Well, I definitely want you to put the link to your website in these comments when we get off of here, so people can find it and reach there if they want to get some books from you. I know I'm going to purchase me a few as well, and I'm just so thankful for you. I'm so thankful that God connected us together, and I truly believe that there is so much more that's coming for you, and I know He's going to reward and bless you with the blessing that you're being through these books. And I know they're going to reach so many people and families that just need some good, wholesome books in their life. We don't have enough of them. And as a parent, that is very important to me, what I allow my child to read and listen to. So I'm just so thankful for you, Keithiana, and I'm just thankful you took the time out of your day to connect and have this interview with me today.
Thank you, Kim. I'm so blessed to have you in my life. It's so amazing how sometimes God can just connect two people, and you feel so like you know each other already, and you just like have such a great connection, and that only can happen with him. And I've been praying for a while now, since I got married and moved here, to find like-minded people to surround me. And I remember in the beginning he said, wait on it, that he will bring the right people at the right time, because it's so important for us to be around like-minded people who believe in Jesus and trust and will help encourage each other. So I'm so blessed to have you, and thank you for doing this for me, because it truly, really means a lot.
I love you, Keithiana. We'll definitely be connecting again soon.
Okay. Yes.
You have a good
You
day, and
too.
make sure
Bye-bye.
to put that in the
I
comments so
will.
they'll have a way to reach it, okay?
Okay.
Bye, girl.
Bye. Bye.